Hey y'all, it's March the 24th, 2017, and what I have to tell you is that during this video, if you hear the wind blowing very loudly, and you might see the camera even shake, what I gotta explain to you before I get into the video is that it's windy as balls here in Big Spring. It's one of the windiest places, if not the windiest place that I've ever lived at or been to. It's so unbelievably windy. And for people who aren't familiar with it and stuff, man, not only is it windy, but this is like a dry area. I mean, it in many ways is a desert, and so what it'll do is it'll pick up dirt, and dirt will be all around. Like, dirt's all around right now. I mean, in many ways it seems like the Middle East. I mean, dirt clouds will come in, dirt will rain down from the sky, and if it actually does rain, it'll be mud rain. Alright, it's intense. But I just wanted to let you know that if you hear like the wind whistling through this video, it ain't a tornado. This is Big Spring, Texas. Alright, now I gotta get into the video. I gotta get into the topic. It's actually not funny at all. It's a very serious topic. Right? It's actually pretty personal. There is a lot of current events taking place you might be aware of. Very exciting times. Wait 1 second. I'll be right back. Very exciting times. Very many current events that I could cover. Instead, I'm going to make a personal video right now. There's a lot of people out on the internet who are covering these very serious, ongoing developments that are going on in the nation and the world. And, if you want to find them, I'm sure you could. Right now, what I'm going to do is take the time out to do a pretty personal video. It's a video that's long overdue, actually. And it's inspired by my uncle. I have an uncle named Willy, and a lot of people do. A lot of people have an uncle named Willy. So do I. And unfortunately, my uncle named Willy is dying. Slowly and painstakingly right now. Alright, over there in San Antonio. Like I said, I'm here in Big Spring. That guy's dying. Alright. And I also gotta explain this. He's died before, literally. He's had a heart attack. He had a couple of heart attacks and died clinically, was out for minutes upon minutes. He didn't die. Or, I mean, he did die, but he didn't stay dead. All right? He actually recovered from that. His body, for some reason, was brought back to life, brought back from the dead for some reason. And I visited him in the hospital when that did happen. And it was crazy. It was kind of eerie and weird, because I visited him a couple of times. And his memory was so messed up by the event that he never remembered. Right? I would visit him, and then he wouldn't remember. And then later on I would visit him, and he wouldn't remember that. And he just wouldn't remember. For a few days, it'll mess with your memory. So anyways, he did die, and then later on he told me about what occurred when he did die. I think a lot of y'all might be interested to know. He told me that when he died, he did remember that. And when he did slip off into a different dimension, what he told me he saw was nothing. What he told me that was there to experience was nothing. Nothing to speak of. Absolute nothingness. And what I gotta explain to you is that my Uncle Willy is an atheist. And he's been an atheist for as long as I've ever known him. He's kind of wanted to die for as long as I've ever known him. My Uncle Willy. Alright. And the thing is, I can't even blame my Uncle Willy. First of all, my Uncle Willy is bipolar to the max. My Uncle Willy is an alcoholic to the max. Alright. My Uncle Willy he's sharp as a whip. Alright? My Uncle Willie, he used to work like nobody's business. I mean, he used to put in overtime at the hospital. He was an x-ray technician. My Uncle Willie at the University Hospital in San Antonio was an x-ray technician. So you got to understand, he's seen things that I would never ever dream of wanting to see. All sort of things on a daily basis. My Uncle Willie, he's seen sort of things that would cause pretty much anybody to become atheist. Right? On a personal note, on an even more personal note, one day he told me this one story about my grandmother, a person who I never met. I never met my grandfather on my dad's side either. They're from New Jersey. All right, told me a story about them, which also would prove quite difficult for anybody. My grandmother jumped out a window, committed suicide. Alright, that might be a little bit jarring. That's what she did. And as it turns out, according to my Uncle Willie, he was the one who had to go and identify the body of his mother who jumped out a window. So you could easily see how you would become an alcoholic, bipolar, atheist. It's quite easy to see that. All right. I wanted to explain that about my Uncle Willie. And he did die, and this was a few years back. He's now again dying. He's living in sort of a long-term hospice, all right, in which he ain't getting better. There's no getting better. It's a downward spiral that he's going through right now. All right, and it's terrible and unfortunate. I was told that I should probably like give him a call or go and well, I obviously can't go in person and talk to him, but give him a call, see how he's doing and stuff. Thing is, as harsh as it might sound to everybody, I had to choose against that. The thing is, as I was brought up, my family is very important. The people with my blood in them, very important to me. Weird thing about that is, I was trained as a person to go years and years without speaking to any one of them. Not necessarily having beef with them, just not speaking to them, not interacting with them. And then I noticed that it does not matter how many years go by. When I do see that person, we won't skip a beat. All right, it will be just like I saw you yesterday. And I had to decline calling him, speaking to him, because it had been like a couple years since I talked to him anyways. All right, and I know that sounds harsh to a lot of people. It sounds harsh to me, but at the same time, even Jesus said, he said, "Let the dead bury their dead." All right, and I mean that sincerely in the way that ain't nothing that I could do for my Uncle Willie. The only thing that I could do is go and talk to him and stuff in hopes to make myself feel better. Because the thing is, ain't nothing I could do for him. All right. In fact, shoot, man, I put myself in my Uncle Willie's shoes, and I got to imagine if I knew that impending death was coming upon me very shortly, and I had already died before and experienced absolutely nothing, just a whole world of nothingness. At this particular moment, I'd be more terrified than I ever was in my life. I would absolutely not want to lose my life. I would know that I'm about to lose my life, and I'd be absolutely terrified to the gills about it. All right, so it ain't really nothing that I could do for him. And so I choose not to. I'm going to let him carry out this process himself. And what I got to explain to everybody out there is this. I'm not here hating on you because what do you believe? My family's filled up with all sort of races and backgrounds and different people who believe different things. All right? I'm not hating on you for what you believe. But I want you to imagine this. Right. Imagine that when you died, and I know a lot of people, including atheists, who believe that when you die, there'll be nothingness. It'll be nothing. nothing at all. And I really couldn't tell you one way or the other for sure. Alright, but the thing is, I gotta hope and pray for everybody out there that your mind and your soul also dies and does not experience the nothingness. Because the last thing that you would ever want to do is experience nothingness forever. Because nothingness might seem quite peaceful momentarily. It might be a moment of extreme relief to have nothingness surround you. But that's only momentarily. Alright, if you want an example, I'll take it back to what Chris Rock said a long time ago. And he was talking about prison, but he said, it kind of applies here. If you want to experience nothingness, what you do is this. You go to a closet in your house. Make sure that you can't hear anything at all. Go into the closet and sit there. Turn off all the lights. You can't see anything. You can't hear anything. Sit there. And see if that isn't torture. Imagine you had to experience that torture forever. You better hope that your mind and soul dies. And I hope for you, because I don't want you to experience that. I don't want you to experience that sort of torture of nothingness. People describe hell in all sort of ways. Right? Who knows who's correct? But imagine if hell was nothingness. You alone with your thoughts and nothing else. You could experience nothing else. You will never experience a more difficult form of torture ever. Right, and I wanted to express that for everybody out there and stuff. That's not something that you want to incur. That's definitely not something that I want to experience. That nothingness. And it seems as though that's what my Uncle Willy is looking at right now. I wish that I could help him, but isn't much that I could do now. I hope he remembers the words of all the people who told him about God, who told him about Jesus, who told him about a happy place, who told him about happiness. And I hope that somehow, some way, he could find his way to there. I can't help him with it. But I sincerely hope and pray that he does figure out a way, because an eternity of nothingness, I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. Anyways, I'll holler at y'all. It's March the 21st, 2017. It is a tribulation. I'll holler at y'all.